Hi guys, and today's movie that you don't hate. All right, so this week's movie is actually going to be Spawn from 1997, and it's one of those films where a lot of people didn't like it because they were fans of the original comic book, or they were just being introduced to Spawn, and it didn't quite live up to what everybody's expectations were of this particular film. I, on the other hand, love this film, even with its flaws. I don't know how you feel about it, Manny.
Well, Spawn was actually created by Todd McFarlane in 1992. It was published by Image Comics.
Image Comics.
And was, picked up really great. It was an independent, picked up really good, and according to IGN, number 5 in the all-time best cartoons, characters.
Okay.
So awesome.
Nah.
It's awesome. It's got a great fan base and everything. So when this came out in '97, released by New Line, it was expected to actually be something much more than what it was, and the PG-13 rating really killed it. It's gotten a lot of backlash because of it, and in some cases rightfully so. I don't think that it's not as bad. So we're going to give you some facts here and some details on the movie. It'll be split in 5 categories.
Right.
For those that you have not seen, you don't hate. We're going to split it up in 5 categories. We're going to split it up by the acting / directing, the plot, the action sequences, characters, and special effects, visual effects, makeup, all that good stuff. Okay? So, you want to get started?
Sure.
Then let's get started. Terrence, start the scoreboard again. I said scoreboard again.
Yeah, scoreboard.
Is that right?
It's a scoreboard.
It is a scoreboard. Start the scoreboard now. Terrence, tell the viewers out there the plot of Spawn.
Okay, so if for some particular reason you are watching this video and you've never seen Spawn from 1997, the plot, just like in the comic books, is basically going to take place with Al Simmons, and he is a CIA agent working for Jason Wynn. Him and his best friend Chapel, which doesn't make an appearance in this particular film, are both doing kind of like black ops jobs for the CIA. The one day Al Simmons returns back. Jason Wynn no longer needs his services and has him eliminated, but he has him eliminated by his best friend Chapel. In this particular film, they did not do the role of Chapel because there was some type of rights issue with that particular character. So now the part of Chapel is being played by a woman named Priest. Was that right? Okay. And Priest or / Chapel has to kill him, and that kind of deals with the fact that, the person that I did all these black op jobs for has having me killed by my best friend. And when he dies, it's one of those revenge type movies, or it's a revenge story.
But / romance, actually.
Exactly. But his wish in death is that he can return back to his wife, because that's the only thing that he loves in this world is his woman. And when he makes this wish, it's overheard by the devil. Malebolgia is how it's represented in this particular film, and in the comic books, the devil makes a deal with him and says that, hey, I can bring you back, but you'll have to serve me in my army. Lead my army. So he accepts it, brings him back. He brings him back as a Hellspawn. Now he's unrecognizable, so he can't return back to his wife.
Deadpool.
Time has gone on. Basically, it's Deadpool before it's Deadpool in film, because I can't say it's Deadpool before Deadpool, but it's Deadpool film version before the actual Deadpool appeared on film. So time has taken place since he died. So not only can is his body disfigured, he can't return back to his wife, but his wife has actually moved on with his other friend, or his actually best friend, Terry Fitzgerald, being played by D.B. Sweeney, has now married and impregnated his wife. So he's got a really effed up situation, which for this particular movie, outside of some small parts, they really did nail what was the plot and story of the original comic book. There was some minor things with the Priest character replacing Chapel, but like I said, that was a rights thing, as well as an issue with Terry Fitzgerald being played by D.B. Sweeney. And if you've seen the comic, or if you read the comic book, or if you've ever seen the HBO series, Terry is actually a black man being played by a white man in the movie, and that
whitewashed it.
And actually, if you ever see some of the interviews from Tom McFarlane in regards to this movie, they literally did just whitewash the film, because his comic book had a lot of black characters in it, and they felt like it was too many black characters, and it made the film an actual black movie. So they had him add in white characters. So we got Priest, who's white. We got Terry Fitzgerald, who's white. Jason Wynn's always been white, but for the most part, he was really the only white character in this whole universe that they designed, besides Cagliostro, which they mentioned a little bit. But I think they did a great job as far as at least expressing what the comic book was and the overall theme of what the comic book was. I didn't have a problem with the plot at all.
I thought that the plot was pretty much in your face, and just opened the door to so many different stories that you can do with this thing.
Right.
It was just absolutely amazing. But for a starter, absolutely amazing. All right. So, acting. This movie has got a pretty good cast. It stars Michael Jai White, Martin Sheen,
Right.
D.B. Sweeney, great guy. Met him back in the day. He was a great guy.
Okay.
Teresa Randall,
Right.
and Mr. John Leguizamo
Right. Scene stealer.
of Super Mario fame.
Man.
Anyway, completely redeems himself with this movie, though.
right.
So, I thought that there were some decent scenes, but let's break it down by character. Let's start with Martin Sheen.
All right. Okay.
Now, he plays Jason Wynn, who is pretty much like the head of this covert group, right?
Right.
And he's obviously the bad guy in this.
Right.
Much different than in the comics portrayed by Sheen.
Well, are we talking about his acting, or we're talking about the characterization?
Let's talk about his acting.
Okay,
his
so
acting as far as the
sticking
movie.
with Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen is he's a distinguished actor. No one's ever said that he can't act. And I don't think that was, well, hold on a second. Let me say it this way. I don't think that this is a movie where we can say that he didn't have a good acting job. I think for what his character was designed to be, was to be the over-the-top, I'm just bad because of bad type villain. He did what he was supposed to do with this particular character. He only had a little bit of window to work with as far as what he could do with the character. So I think he did what he was supposed to do with this character, and I think he did a decent job with it. So
okay, and I thought the same thing. I thought the director had a hand in his performance.
Right.
So just like you said, it's he what it called for, what the script called for, that's what he gave you.
it was the 90s.
It was the 90s, they're
evil
not-
because of evil.
Right. But with the background with such movies like Apocalypse Now and all that, I mean, was it as intense? Not really.
No,
but given the fact that it's a fun movie, it's supposed to be a fun movie. He did what a normal 90s bad guy would do.
Right.
So, not too bad.
No, I didn't have a problem with his character. Well, not his characterization. I don't have a problem with his acting for that particular character.
Now, D.B. Sweeney and Teresa Randall are pretty much side players on this movie. They're not. They're a big part of the story, but they're not. Which we'll get into plot in a little bit. But they're a big part of the story. As far as from an acting standpoint, I think the same thing. I think that they did what they had to do from a supporting cast standpoint, and I think they did all right. They didn't do that bad.
Yeah. D.B. Sweeney had a small part as Terry. Teresa Randall, a little bit of a larger part because she had to play Wanda, who was the inspiration for Al to actually make it back for. And I think she did a good job as being, an inspiration to him and, being a strong woman I think she did a good job. And at the time when Teresa Randall was popular, when she was cast for this, she'd done all these roles where, that was her character type. She was being a strong black woman, and I think they portrayed on the screen for what she did in her acting in this movie. So I had no problem with that. Like I said, D.B. Sweeney's role was small, so what could we really get from what he did?
Right.
But
right.
D.B. Sweeney did a good job. He was like cutting edge was what he came off of to go into this particular film. I didn't have a problem with his acting. Who do we have next?
The biggest standout for the movie for me was John Leguizamo.
We're doing John Leguizamo.
We're gonna do John Leguizamo real quick because he was he was the standout of the movie. He was absolutely amazing. It took him, oh my god, it took him like hours and hours to do the makeup and as far as the clown makeup. Very method actor. Ate real maggots when it was time to eat real maggots. Just completely went method. Was just hilarious in a lot of the little skits that he was doing. Now, if I remember right, he was actually still doing or about to start doing his variety show House of Buggin'. So some of those,
Man, that is a callback. Right
yeah,
there.
and then on top of that, you know, he had his Mambo Mouth stand-up
Right.
comedy show. So he had a lot of experience as far as being a comedian and all that. So he put a lot of that. That he really stretched his range when it came to to the comedy aspect of the clown. And I thought he was just absolutely amazing.
And one of the few roles where it got to really focus around him. A lot of times he plays more as a secondary character or the funny friend type deal, and this one got to really focus around him. And I think he did a great job. Like I said, he was a scene stealer. You know, the way he acted, you felt like he definitely was that character. If you were a comic book reader of Spawn, the way he portrayed him was great, was spot on. That's exactly what you thought the clown was. If you watched the animated series, that's who he was in the animated series. He did a great job as the clown.
And that leaves us with the star of the movie, Michael Jai White. Now he's done a lot of action movies. He's a proven martial artist. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
As far as the stuff that he puts out. But this was an early Michael Jai White.
This was a very early Michael
So,
Jai White. This is Michael Jai White coming off of what's the movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme?
What movie did he come out with Jean-Claude Van Damme in?
He was in the sequel to
Cyborg?
no, where he was a soldier back from the dead. Oh God, it wasn't Cyborg. It was
Hold on a minute. Jean-Claude Van Damme did a movie where he came back from the dead?
yeah. He did it with Dolph Lundgren, the original one.
Oh, Universal Soldier.
Thank you. Universal Soldier. They did Universal Soldier. It wasn't Universal Soldier 2 because they had done the video tie-ins. They did it 2 and 3. So when they actually did,
That's not helping Michael Jai White's case.
I know. So that was his initial breakthrough. Well, that wasn't his breakthrough role, but that was his initial role. And then he went from there to this. And when he went to this, you could tell that he wasn't as polished as of an actor that he had been going into other films that we've seen where he's done a great job in. I mean, he's a good dramatic actor. I mean, he's done action great. In this film, he was rough.
So, given the things that Al Simmons has to go through to come back to Earth, okay, how do you think that Michael Jai White did with doing that? I think that some parts he got, more or less the action part of it, but he kind of struggled a little bit with the emotional standpoint, showing the emotion.
I think he struggled a lot with it. I think he was more along the line of like, I'm gonna be mad about it, and Spawn character is mad about it. He's mad about the situation he got placed in and how he kind of gets screwed over by everybody, but there's always this whole undertone about like how much he misses his wife and how much he still cares for her, even though recognizing the fact that, you know, she is now moved on without him and that he can't have her back. He wasn't able to express that part of the emotion. Maybe that was something that was written in the script, but when he did have to reference it, it didn't quite come across. It just kind of came across as anger, and that's not really who the character was.
Right,
So,
and when you compare it to the cartoon, to the animated HBO version, there is just no vulnerability to the character of Al Simmons at all in Michael Jai White's portrayal.
Right.
So in that regard, and he's the lead,
okay.
I'm gonna have to score hate on the acting, unfortunately.
I agree with that because he's the lead of this film, and if anything, that we've all had our you don't hates before, and if your main character has a bad acting job, I think that says everything about the acting that's in the film. If you have secondary characters who have a bad acting job, but your main character has a great acting job, then that's what you really want to base the acting on in this film.
Because they have more screen time.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be on screen all the time. He's on the screen 100% of the time. There's not a scene that doesn't involve him.
Right.
Everything is based around him, and if his acting is lacking, then the acting in his movie is not good. So I gotta give that to hate.
And given the script that everybody got, given the script that everybody got, and they're playing their roles and all that good stuff, the what they're given, the plot definitely for me gets a like for sure.
Okay, so now we've done 2 scores, and
We've done 2 scores.
Not run the.
And right now, no, ding ding.
You totally threw us off here.
It's tied 1-1.
It's tied 1-1.
It's tied 1-1, and I hope that you have the scores up right now.
Yes.
You have them up right now? Okay, they're up. All right. right. So,
the
now
next
let's
scene.
move on. The next scene is the next category is the action. This movie has got. I wish it had more. I really wish that it had more. But the action scenes that are, especially when he jumps out from, he jumps down from the ceiling and his cape is flapping around and all that. Great. That whole scene was good. The
little motorcycle.
the
thing.
motorcycle chase, good.
The inside the little ballroom thing when he was going to kill Jason Wynn, where he actually, which was a great thing. I thought, I didn't think they would actually do it, because the character himself, not only does he use the little powers that he has with the cape and his chains and things like that, but he was a soldier, so he knows how to use weapons. So when the fact that he pulled out guns, and if you were a fan of I got action figures. If you're a fan of the action figures, he always carries weapons with him. So the fact that he was able to go in, get the weapons when he had to take off and run from. He did have to run from people, and it was like, why? Why did he have to run from people? Because he was being hurt and his power is depleted. So that scene itself was awesome when he became the little rock thing, and I think the action scenes were really great. He had a fight against the clown when he turned into Violator. I thought that was a nice little action scene. I don't have a problem. When you said that there wasn't a lot, I think there were a lot of action scenes.
You know what?
Starting from the very beginning.
I felt that same way about Fantastic Four, and you gave me crap about it.
Because there wasn't a lot of action scenes.
Well, I don't think that there was enough action scenes for a Spawn movie.
Okay, so here's the difference between this and Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four started off with nothing. At least this one started off with him having a covert little ops at the beginning. And then we went into then they gave you some story, and then we went into him trying to kill Jason Wynn, and then we went on to him I think there was tons of action scenes in it. There was a little lull as they set up the story, but we started with an action
I would have liked
Fantastic Four started with zero.
Okay, fine. Only because of that whole freaking sequence, the whole action sequence with when he jumps down from the freaking thing in his cape and he's shooting everybody. That scene was just freaking awesome. That by itself, and the Violator scene.
Yes.
Was awesome. So okay, fine. Let's give the point to like.
I'm gonna give it to like.
All right, give the point to like. All right. I wish I could have just seen more. That's all. I just wanted to see more.
If they would have got a sequel.
If they would have got a sequel, then definitely. They would have been rated R too. All right. So next is the makeup effects.
Okay.
This took Michael Jai White 4 hours? Something like 4 hours?
Long time.
Long time for this.
Not only did they have to do the makeup on his little, because he refers to it as a hamburger face, they have to do that particular makeup.
Plus the suit, the body suit.
The suit and the whole mask on top of him. So, I mean, some of it was CGI, but basically they got to put that over. They got to put a mask over his face. They got to work it out. So I think what they did, was really, really great. They realized the suit from a comic book on screen. I don't think I had a problem with it. It was back to the age of practical effects anyway, so we don't have to make that argument with a CGI suit or anything like that, even though there was CGI involved into his suit. But for the most part, he wore a suit and they made it to where it was like a living thing, because that's the main thing about Spawn in his particular suit, is that it's alive. His cape's alive, his chains are all sentient, and so this looked like it was something that was alive and he wasn't just wearing spandex. So I like what they did with the design. I liked what they did with his powers, and how they were realized with the flowiness of the cape, as you were saying, when he's jumping down, when he had that little image of him perched, because that's the main thing in the comic books, where they do
that
a lot
was
of
an
this
awesome scene.
religious,
where the cape is flapping. And awesome.
They do all this whole religious, almost like Daredevil, where like he perches on top of like churches and crosses and cemeteries and stuff like that. So they did that, and the way they make him look with the CGI in that, I thought even for 1997 was pretty good. Now, obviously, it's lacking because we are on a whole different level for CGI, but for then, I thought it was really, really great when like I said, the whole scene where he makes a little rock armor. I thought that was pretty good. The Violator in the cemetery was pretty awesome. The Violator coming out of the fireplace was not, but but the Violator in the cemetery, I thought in that initial fight scene when he was fighting him with the guns before he actually got control of his suit, I thought that was pretty good, a show of the effects that they had, and
well, the makeup on John Leguizamo was excellent for one.
Oh, there's the other thing. It was like the makeup they did with John Leguizamo.
The makeup that they did with John Leguizamo was really good, and I think he had to pee himself. I can't remember how that works, but anyways, the makeup on him was good. I thought the hell sequences were kind of cartoony a little bit with the Malebolgia, but for its day, I mean, you got to give them some credit for the effort that they put for that time.
97. It's
97. Yeah, exactly.
This is even before Blade.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, with the makeup on Jai White when he did not have the Spawn makeup, I mean that was some pretty crisp, Freddy Krueger type makeup there.
Exactly.
It was really good. So I'm definitely giving makeup a like.
Yes,
absolutely.
definitely.
I'm giving a like. All right. Last one.
Okay.
Characters.
All right.
The characters were portrayed pretty much to the comic.
Okay.
The thing that I did not like about the characters are exactly what you said earlier about this predominantly being a black movie.
All right.
And that's exactly how it should have stayed. It should have been real. It should have been true to the content that Todd McFarlane wrote. Which sounds kind of funny as far as, he's a white man and he's writing black characters. It's amazing. But he does such a good job in it, especially when you're watching the characters in the animated. And Todd McFarlane was tied to that. He helped with that. So did he produce it or did he direct it? I can't remember.
He probably had his hand in. We got to go back and look at it. But at that particular point in time, he was so disappointed at what happened with Spawn that he wanted to make sure that he had as much control as possible.
Exactly, and what he put out was just absolutely amazing. So for me, when you're looking at the 97, comparing it to the 97 to 99 animated, when you compare those two, the characters were more represented more in the animated version than they were in the live action.
No, definitely.
And that's not taking away anything from DB Sweeney. He's a talented guy, but, but it has nothing to do with that. It's just the absence of Chapel bothered me. The fact that Terry was white bothered me. Not as much as Chapel, but that still bothered me. And it just seemed that the characters were not. They were not true. They were not the real characters, except for Clown and Spawn.
Okay, so I was thinking about that, and I was almost thinking about the fact that where now we talk about changing somebody's race because it's not important to their particular character, and I was thinking about it with D.B. Sweeney and him being not whitewashed for his particular character. It wasn't as how do I want to say this. I think that for who he was, it was still important to the character, because just to automatically change his race, it felt like he wasn't who that particular character was, and the fact that his role was really limited. So maybe if they got to expand on his character himself like we did with a particular TV show, maybe we could see them evolve it more or reveal it to be more of that Terry character. It just seemed like it was just a person playing a character called Terry and not really his best friend who's now married his wife. And I don't think the characterization, even though he was switched in race, wasn't true to the comic book. Like you mentioned with the whole Chapel thing, his military buddy to turn around and kill him, they didn't realize that by changing it from Chapel to Priest, because in the movie they really didn't have a relationship. It was just somebody else it was just somebody who killed him. So they took away from that. So even if they wanted to do a race change, they still didn't have the same characterization as far as their relationship together, as far as why it was so hurtful from Al to be killed by that particular person. And then Jason Wynn, how we talked about before, evil because of evil. He's more of a character than that. He kind of is a puppet master, not just like didn't feel like having you around.
He's especially when you're watching the animated version. He's very cool, smooth, and collected, and has a lot of composure, and just but at the same time ruthless. Yeah. So in that regard, I don't think that was portrayed on screen, and that's not Martin Sheen's fault. I think that's more of the director, and that's more of them making it PG-13. So. Right. So I'm gonna have to give that one a hate.
Yeah, that was definitely a hate. And it was one of the things, like I mentioned before, that Todd McFarlane had to deal with. He had a lot of meddling from the studio as far as when he was getting the script together for this, and when they were setting up what was going to go on with the film. They made so many changes that he was kind of unhappy with, that he didn't put out what he actually wanted, which is why he ended up getting the HBO series. And it kind of showed on screen that it wasn't exactly what everybody wanted as far as a Spawn film.
And the Spawn animated more than made up for that, to be honest with you. It ran from 97 to 99, aired on HBO. It won an Emmy, and it was Spawn was voiced by Keith David. So and he was amazing.
He's great
as Spawn. So if you really want to get the true essence of Spawn and the comics and all that good stuff, check out those HBO episodes. They're absolutely amazing. They're all on YouTube, or buy them online.
Or watch this movie again.
Or watch this. But you know what? But talk about this one. Let's look at the scoreboard right now. Right, it is 3-2.
3-2. So this was a squeaker. I mean, it definitely has some flaws that Spawn fans know of. You know, Todd McFarlane knows these flaws, but it definitely has enough things that even if you're not a Spawn fan, that you can appreciate in a superhero film. Or in this one was they kind of walked the line between a superhero film and a horror film. So as a horror film, you can look at it that way, as far as, you know, the effects and the elements of that. And as a superhero film, you can look at it as, like, you know, whole revenge and, you know, taking hold of my powers and things. I mean, there's a lot of great things about it.
And you mentioned the horror element on it. Todd McFarlane is looking to remake Spawn and reboot the series, and potentially adding even more horror and really concentrating on that aspect. So if they have a talented director, someone like James Wan or somebody along those lines, to actually take a hold of this. Sam Raimi, really? Nah, he's too comedic. He's got comedic elements in it. I don't think Spawn is. Well, I guess because
Evil Dead.
Right, it's comedic.
There was no comedy.
Oh, you're on the remake.
Yes.
Oh, you're on the remake. Okay, cool. All right. But either way, no matter what the score says down here, hey, you don't really hate this movie.
You don't hate this movie at all. I mean, obviously we proved that you don't hate this movie, but you don't hate this movie. Go out and see it again. You know, disregard some of the 1997 special effects, but just kind of dive into the world that it sets up and the character itself. And you'll realize that this was really an entertaining film. And trust me, there's a lot of other films out there that we can talk about that are really lacking. This was not one of them.
Budgeted for $40 million, made $87 million. Yeah. So it was not. It was actually a financial success. So,
yeah.
We want to thank Prince Solomon for actually suggesting Spawn. I apologize. We apologize that it took us so long to actually do it. But this was for you. Terrence, take us home.
All right. So make sure you guys like, comment below. Tell us what you felt about the 1997 Spawn film. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you're a Spawn fan like I am, trust me, if you put it down below, I'll talk with you for hours as far as this movie or anything that's Spawn
involved. Yes, you will. Talk to you for hours.
But also, too, we also have other films that we talked about on You Don't Hate, where we try to defend the films that most of all the public doesn't really like. So make sure you check some of those out, like Superman.
Next one will actually be Transformers Dark of the Moon.
I will be here for that.
And look for Batman vs. Superman. That's coming pretty soon.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe so that way you know when those particular videos come out, too. But that's all I got right now. So
for Aspen in the back, I'm Manny.
I'm Terrence.
And that was the goods. Again. See you next time.
Hi guys, and today's movie that you don't hate